All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and put these closed captions on the bottom of the screen, but they are automated, so they might not be exact, but hopefully they'll help if anybody needs a little bit of assistance while they're watching today. My name is Susan. I'm an educator here at the South Carolina Aquarium, and I love my job. I think that I've got one of the coolest careers in the world, but one of the best parts of it is working with lots of other amazing people that also love their careers. So today we're going to introduce you to 6 different people from the aquarium that have incredible jobs, very different jobs, and tell you all about their careers, how they got into those careers, and maybe some advice on how you could end up in a career like that. If you guys have questions as we go along, I've got the chat pulled up, and I would be happy to get to pass along some of those questions to the people that are watching with us today. So we're going to start with one of my friends, Angela, and we're going to get her all ready to go so that you guys can see her and get to answer some questions with her today. All right, perfect. Angela, I'm going to go ahead and make you kind of the star of the show. How are you doing today, Angela?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So Angela is part of our dive team. Which I don't want to give anything away, but she's got a pretty cool tank behind her. She might tell us a little bit more. She's even got sharks with you. Angela, could you just tell us, maybe a little bit about what your job looks like? What's a typical day in your job?
Yeah, sure. So I am a dive officer slash aquarist here at the South Carolina Aquarium. So my time is split almost 50-50 between diving and between animal care. So my 2 big exhibits that I kind of take care of are this exhibit right behind us. This is the Great Ocean Tank. Some of you probably have seen it before in person, hopefully. Otherwise, you should check it out. It is the deepest tank in North America at 42 feet, which is pretty cool. And the other exhibit that I take care of is the Shallows. That's the outdoor exhibit if you've ever been, and it is home to 31 different stingrays, 2 different species, and a couple of horseshoe crabs in there as well. I take care of a couple different quarantine tanks in the back. So quarantine just means holding tanks for those animals that are potentially going to move into maybe this tank or maybe the Shallows that I just mentioned. So when we collect them or if they're in holding, they're in the back in this special little area. And so that's my animal care side of my world. And then I'm also a diver here. So I'm cleaning this exhibit, getting in and helping to maintain the algae in this exhibit. So scrubbing this underwater and it also in the shallows, helping out around here in different exhibits as well. So diving and animal care is kind of my main jam. And it can be anything from like a 50-50 day. So like a typical day would be waking up the stingrays by feeding them in the morning. I give them their breakfast. I say good morning to all of them. I'll clean their exhibit down a little bit, take some water measurements in the morning, just to make sure everything is like A++ in that exhibit. Then I walk over here and I'll take a look at all of them. A lot of animal care is maintaining and ensuring animal safety. So just making sure that everyone is healthy, getting along with everybody else, that they don't look like they have any kinds of weird injuries or anything like that. So I'm keeping a close eye on them in that regard. Then I might jump into a tank and clean it. Kind of all just depends. And a lot of food prep. Spend a lot of time in our kitchen preparing a whole bunch of food for all of these different animals. So that would be kind of a general typical day for me.
That's awesome. Probably lots of people watching, especially kiddos, might be like, that sounds like a lot of fun. I want to do that. So could you tell us, Angela, kind of how you got into this job, into this field, maybe what inspired you or what were like the requirements?
Sure thing. Yeah. So I'm actually from the Midwest, so very landlocked, no ocean anywhere nearby. I used to go to Bass Pro Shops, if you're familiar with that, and like would glue onto the exhibits and was obsessed with them. And I saw a scuba diver one time, and that's what motivated me to become a scuba diver, Bass Pro Shops. So I became a scuba diver when I was 16 years old, and that kind of skyrocketed my whole career, kind of led me to where I am today. I went and got a college degree. I got a bachelor's of science in marine science and zoology, but I got a minor in scientific diving. So I spent quite a long time underwater collecting data. And once I realized I could collect data underwater, it was a game changer for me. I thought that was the coolest thing, that you could take like a pencil underwater with paper and like collect information. I thought that was so rad. So from there, I kind of did a couple different internships, Hawaii and Alaska and Catalina and things like that. And then I decided I wanted to learn more. So I went to a master's program out in California, where I worked as a diving safety officer. So I became a dive instructor somewhere along the way, got more experience underwater, more experience teaching scuba diving specifically. And then I started volunteer diving at the Monterey Bay Aquarium as a scuba diver. That kind of led me directly into this aquarium. I moved to the East Coast and I was like, knock, knock, South Carolina Aquarium, I want to volunteer dive here. But they said nope because of COVID. And instead, I started working in education. I have a ton of experience in education too. So I actually started with Suzanne, teaching and doing things like that, and then worked my way up into being animal care / dive officer here. That's my little path.
Awesome. And you guys will hear as we talk to all of the people that work at the aquarium, it's usually kind of a windy path, but just a lot of following our passions to get to where we are today. So it's definitely some great advice. Okay, so the last kind of two things I'm going to pair together is what's the hardest part of your job, but then what's your favorite part of your job too?
Yeah, those are tough questions. The hardest part, I think, is catching fish from the shallows or catching stingrays out of the shallows when they need their barbs trimmed. We have to catch them so that we can trim their little barbs for safety reasons, and that's challenging. Not for safety reasons, it's just literally there's a lot of splashing and they're really fast. So that's probably my hardest part. But my favorite part is doing enrichment for them. So animals just like us need enrichment. Just like if you did the same exact thing day after day after day, you probably get pretty bored, right? So same with the animals. We like to mix things up, keep it spicy, keep it interesting. So I get to kind of create different things like food enrichment, things like that. So think like a fish popsicle and sinking that to the bottom of the shallows so that they can kind of play around with that. So I think that's my all-time favorite thing. And I want to add on, if you've seen our Carolina Seas exhibit, it's pretty shallow. It's only around 14 feet, and you don't wear fins, and you also don't wear a tank. So to get back up to the surface, you have to jump and hold on to a ladder, and it's super fun. I think it's like playing underwater, and I think that's up there with my favorite part.
That sounds awesome. And the tank behind you looks so peaceful. I bet we all would like to go scuba diving inside of it. Well, thank you, Angela. We're actually going to switch over and meet someone else now. So thanks, Angela.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
We're going to go ahead and see. There we go. We're ready to meet Kate.
Awesome.
How's it going, Kate?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Awesome.
Okay, so Kate has an amazing job. You can already see one of her patients behind you. She's one of our sea turtle biologists. So Kate, can you just tell us kind of about your job in general, what you do? And I mean, probably hard to have a typical day, but what a typical day looks like.
Yeah, so as Susan mentioned, I'm a sea turtle biologist, and behind me is part of the Sea Turtle Care Center. So we are the only rehabilitation facility in South Carolina for any sick or injured sea turtles found on our coast or in our waters. So we are responsible for overseeing their day-to-day care. These turtles are sick or injured, so they are patients in our hospital, in our care center. And so we have to oversee daily treatments if they're on antibiotic injections or simple wound treatments. We work very closely with our vet staff to help with any of the medical procedures they may need. We're also on call to answer any strainings and respond to any strainings that could come in at any point in the day. Right now it's a little bit slower, but we do tend to pick up about April through July, which is typically our straining season. Each patient has a specific diet that we have to prep every day. And then these tanks are like hospital beds. So we have to do a lot of maintenance on them. We have to keep them clean, do water quality, do water changes, that kind of thing. So it's a pretty well-rounded, fun job. So that's kind of a typical day.
That's awesome. And I'm sure people have questions about the turtle behind you, but we're going to have to just stick to questions for Kate today. But if you guys have questions about the turtles, I would recommend you check out our Facebook page because Kate and our other sea turtle biologists are often on there telling the stories of these sea turtles. So we'll skip that for now, but we do have a very cute patient behind you. Can you tell us how you got into this job? How'd you get into this career?
Yeah, so I actually got a degree in biology in Georgia. So I moved from Georgia. And while I was in undergrad, I actually worked as a vet assistant all through college. So it was really fun. I got lots of experience with animal care, in vet care, with small and large animals. And then I got to do a research project on gopher tortoises, which are a native tortoise in the Southeast. And that's kind of how I found my way into the turtle world. So after I graduated, I applied for an AmeriCorps position at the Georgia Sea Turtle Center, and I served in AmeriCorps for 2 years at that facility. So I got a lot of experience doing sea turtle rehabilitation and also education and outreach. And then somehow I was lucky enough to get selected for a full-time job as soon as that program ended about 5.5 years ago. So super, super lucky. Most of us that get our foot in the door, we have some kind of combination of volunteer experience, work experience, and a biology degree of some kind.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of people that would love to have a similar job. So it's great to hear your experience. Can you tell us what the hardest part or the toughest part of your job is?
Yeah, so this is wildlife rehabilitation. And so, you know, the hardest part is probably not being able to save every single turtle that comes into our care. Sometimes if they've been hit by a boat or they have really bad injuries that may affect their brain or their spinal cord, or they're just very, very severely injured, there's just sometimes things we can't do to help them. And the best thing to do is to euthanize them. So that's usually the hardest part of our job, I would say. And we always learn from every patient. So any knowledge that we acquire from a tough case, we can then apply to a case that may be coming in with similar issues.
Definitely. Can you tell us what your favorite part is about your job?
Yeah, so my favorite part of my job is probably helping out with our amazing vet team. You'll get to meet Whitney in just a few minutes here, but just getting to work with them and help admit any of the strandings that come in our door. It's just, you know, you have to put your thinking cap on for a lot of them and kind of figure out what you can do and get a game plan for those patients. And then I also just love working with our interns and our volunteers. Like, these people give us so much of their time, and it's fun to be able to help them figure out what they're doing with their life and their career path. And we really all love mentoring them. So it's pretty fun.
That's amazing. Can you tell us really quick just how many sea turtles we have released to date?
I had to think about that for a minute. I had to look at the cheat sheet board over there. We have actually released 338 patients over the last 22 years that we've been doing sea turtle rehab, which is really cool.
It's amazing work. Well, thank you, Kate. Thanks for sharing all of that info. We're going to meet somebody else now. So thanks, Kate. We're going to switch over and meet my friend, Chris. So hi, Chris. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, Susan. Yeah. Hey, Susan.
Awesome. Well, Chris is, correct me if I have your title wrong, but you're one of our advancement coordinators, and that's a little more behind the scenes than I usually see. So I'm really excited to hear some of the stuff about your job. Can you tell us what your job is and, a typical day for you?
Sure. I'm our operations manager on the advancement side. Advancement is our fundraising and strategic planning team. And so we are a nonprofit organization. We rely on our visitors, members, and donors to be able to provide the education and conservation programs that we provide. And so I'm part of the team that works with philanthropists and just everyday folks throughout the community that want to give money to support the programs to be able to power conservation here in the Lowcountry.
Some very important work that's happening behind the scenes at the aquarium to keep this place running. Can you tell us a little bit of maybe about how you got into this job or what inspired you to start this career?
Sure. So I kind of took a pretty circuitous route to get here. I actually prior to coming to the aquarium, I spent 13 years working on ending homelessness, and really enjoyed doing that. But that kind of came to an end, and was looking for new opportunities, and was working as a database manager in that field, and so came over to the aquarium as a database manager, and so that's how I kind of fell into this role.
That's awesome. Very different things, but you can tell it's a passion career for you, so that definitely makes sense to hear. What would you say is the hardest part of your job here?
Hardest part of the job is I have a lot of projects going on all the time, and so kind of have a lot of balls that you're juggling at once, and trying to keep track of them all while they're in the air is probably the hardest part.
I believe that. Time management.
Time management.
That's something I could definitely improve on too. Can you tell us then what's your favorite part?
Favorite part. I think favorite part personally is just whenever you find a way to take the skills, that like I'm not a biologist. I don't work with the animals. I'm not an educator and work with our guests and the children. But that I can take my skills and put them to use for a cause. And that's really rewarding. And that knowing that the work that I do helps power the programs that people like Susan provide and power the work that Kate does. And that's, yeah, that's really personally rewarding just to be part of the team and part of that energy.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Now we're going to switch back over and meet Whitney. Whitney, can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can. And you're standing in front of a very impressive room right now.
Yes,
So.
this is our surgical suite. But like Susan said, my name is Whitney Daniel. I am the veterinary assistant here. I've been here surprisingly for almost 11 years. So I started as a sea turtle biologist down in the hospital. And then after 5 years down there, I transitioned to the vet team. So now I'm a veterinary assistant and get to kind of help out with all the animals.
That's awesome. So many cool things. And it's probably one of the jobs we hear kids ask a lot of questions about the most is how to be a vet and how to take care of animals. So I'm sure we've got lots of excited kiddos joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about what a typical day looks like?
Yeah, so there's really not a typical day in our vet team. However, when I first get in the morning, I just check over our schedule, check any emails, if anything has changed. I prepare for any procedures that we have. So I'll set up different things and pull up medications. I will go check on open cases that we have or assist with treatments and then go from there. And then obviously there's surprise treatments or emergencies that happen within the aquarium or with sea turtle strandings as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it's different every day with so many
Yes.
different animals at the aquarium.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got to this career in general? I know you kind of talked about your path within the aquarium, but just how'd you get to this job?
Yeah, so I'm actually from Tennessee. I'm a landlocked state, but I've always been really drawn to the ocean and really wanted to work within rehabilitation. So I kept that passion up and actually went to Coastal Carolina and had a degree in marine science and volunteered with nesting teams in South Carolina. I interned at Clearwater Marine Aquarium in the rehab department and then interned here prior to being lucky enough to be brought on as a sea turtle biologist. The medical kind of aspect of it was kind of unplanned, and it's something that I found a love for while here in my job. So I was really drawn to the medical aspect and got along really well with our veterinarian and was able to kind of find that passion within my job, which was really, really cool and unpredictable.
I love that. That sounds wonderful. Can you tell us, I'm sure you have hard parts of your job too, and similar to Kate, but can you tell us what the hardest part is, and or even somebody actually asked in the chat too, what the hardest operation is that you've ever helped with?
So the hardest part, sea turtle wise, is really just seeing animals that have been impacted from humans. A lot of the injuries and stuff that we're seeing, it all could have been prevented just with some simple education or the help from humans. So we see a lot of entanglements, ingested fishing line, hooks, boat strikes, things like that. So that's probably the hardest thing, is just knowing that our impact on these animals and maybe what we can do to prevent it. The hardest operation that I've had to assist with, probably Peach, a Kemp's-Ridley turtle. We removed 4 feet of fishing line from her intestines. And as you guys know, sea turtles have shells on their back and on their belly, so a carapace and a plastron. So you have to go in near their legs, the soft tissue. So quite the surgery, quite the task. And Dr. Boylan did, I think it was probably a 2-hour surgery, but we were able to successfully move over 4 feet of fishing line.
That is insane. Yeah, we see some pretty crazy stories from these turtles, and you guys do amazing work to care for them.
Yes.
What's your favorite part of your career, of your job?
Favorite part is every day is different. I get to work with sea turtles daily. Today I did a snake and cut nails on the skunk. So every day is different, which is just amazing and keeps everything exciting and new.
So I couldn't unmute. Thank you so much, Whitney. That's great. I really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. I know your career is one everyone really admires. We're going to switch over and meet Shannon now. Hi, Shannon. How are you doing?
Good. How are y'all doing?
Good. So Shannon is one of our senior biologists. Can you tell us just about your job and what a typical day maybe looks like for you?
Yeah, sure. So I care for some high maintenance animals, some of the most high maintenance animals in the aquarium. So that's jellies. You can see moon jellies behind us, seahorses, octopus, and then some other various fish and inverts. So a big part of my morning is coming in, making sure all the systems are running as they should be. All the animals are happy. They're all looking good. They're looking normal. And then from there, I will prep their diet. We have a brine shrimp hatchery here. So we hatch brine shrimp from eggs. So we will process that hatchery every morning to get that brine shrimp ready to feed out to the jellies and any small, tiny animals that we have. And then food prep for the rest of the gallery. Just making sure, again, any maintenance that needs to be done, like if we have to do a water change in the tank to keep the tank clean, or if we need to backwash a sand filter. So we filter water in certain ways, and that filtered media needs to be maintained. And then I manage volunteers and an intern as well. So touching base with them, they help me do all those things. And then other various things day to day. Sometimes we go collecting, so we'll go out and collect animals. Sometimes I have a lot of meetings I have to go to, so it really varies day to day. But the animal care and making sure the tanks are good, the animals are good, that's the number one.
Awesome. Yeah, you have some really cool animals, and I love watching those moon jellies behind you. So peaceful. Well, I would love to hear how you kind of ended up in this career, what your path was to get here, what inspired you.
So I always wanted to work in conservation in some way, and I was going towards mammals. That's what I had the most experience with, was mammals. And in college, I took an internship at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium, and basically you apply, and wherever you end up is where you end up. And I ended up working in their reef gallery, so with fishes, and they had a resident sea turtle there, and I just fell in love with her. So that kind of shot my path towards sea turtles. And I ended up moving down here to do sea turtle conservation. So I got involved with the local turtle watch programs and with Fish and Wildlife. And I started volunteering here at the aquarium, and I got a part-time job after volunteering here for, I think, about 3 years. I got a part-time job working at our visitor center, where we had a piranha tank at the time. So I was maintaining that. And during that time, I also took a sea turtle consultant internship at a local beach. And then that led me into getting hired here full time. And I was able to get the gallery I have now, which I absolutely love. So a lot of different paths, but it led me here.
That sounds awesome. I didn't even know that about you, Shannon. That is like quite the path. That's really wonderful. Let's see, what's the hardest part of your job? And also, someone asked in the chat, have you ever been injured by one of the jellyfish?
So yes. So first I'll talk about the hardest part. The hardest part would be we have animals that get older, and animals who sometimes, just like us, some animals will get sick. So troubleshooting, trying to get that animal the best care, which we have phenomenal care here. But if it's something more challenging, that's hard for us to find out the cause of that. That can be very hard, because we want all of our animals to be super happy and healthy. And with jellies and with octopus too, they only live about a year. So that can be hard, knowing their lifespan is short. We get attached to our animals. So I'd say those are the two hardest parts for me. And then, yes, so I have been stung so many times. I cannot count how many times I've been stung by jellies. And moons typically don't sting people, but I've worked with them for so long that my body has built up a response to their sting, so they can sting me. And all of the stings have been pretty mild. It'll just be a rash, like an annoying rash that'll last about a week or so. So generally, it's not too bad.
What a hazard of the job.
Right.
That's pretty funny. Okay, well, what's your favorite part of your career?
Well, I guess it's twofold. My absolute favorite is collecting. So we get to take a boat and drive offshore, sometimes up to 80 miles offshore, and we get to fish. So we get to dip net for jellies, or we get to bottom fish for grouper or snapper or other fishes. We get to scuba dive and collect animals that way with nets. We get to collect on our local beaches. We have a big net called a seine that we seine smaller fish with. And we also even go to the mountains and collect freshwater fish. So that would be the most fun for me. We see animals we don't normally see. You never really know what you're going to see. Once we were offshore, maybe a mile outside of the jetties, and we saw 6 northern right whales surfacing. That was one of my all-time favorite trips. Amazing. But another part of my job that I absolutely love is raising animals. So just this past year, I raised over 100 little tiny baby seahorses, and it was really challenging. They're really delicate, but to raise them up, and we still have some here we're going to keep that are going to go on display. But I was also able to ship a lot of those animals to 10 other institutions. So that way, if we ship our animals to other institutions, we supply them with captive reared animals. So an animal like a seahorse that's really, they're protected in the wild, there's not a need to collect them from the wild as much. So those are my 2 favorites.
Those both sound like really wonderful parts of the job. All right, well, thank you so much, Shannon. We've got one last friend we're gonna meet today. We're gonna meet my friend, Megan. Megan, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, sound great. Well, I am excited to talk to you because Megan's from my own department here too. So we've met people from lots of different departments, but Megan works in education. And I would love if you could tell us a little bit more about your job and what a typical day looks like in education.
Well, our favorite thing to say in education is there's no such thing as a typical day because we do so many different things and we work with lots of different types of people and running lots of different types of educational programs. So for example, in our department, we might come in and be working on the galleries and interpreting the galleries as exhibit guides, you know, and talking to guests about sea turtle recovery or Liberty the bald eagle or the jellies or the great ocean tank. And that's kind of like our informal education, the way that we interact with guests on the floor that come in to see us. But we have a lot of other programs as well. So we might be participating in a structured school program where we're working in a classroom setting with a more structured curriculum, teaching a class that is come here just to have their lesson at the aquarium. We might do an outreach program where we are going to a school in our local community and bringing animals to them so that they can have the chance to learn about the animals, even if they can't make it to the aquarium. Or we might be participating in virtual programs like we're doing today, where we get to talk to students from all around the state, around the country, even the world, and, you know, kind of share our education programs and mission with them.
Awesome. Yep. Always something different, but just like everybody that you guys have gotten to meet so far today, the aquarium is full of very passionate people in their careers. So education's a great way to get to share that passion with those guests coming in the building or, you know, you guys virtually right now. So we're really excited to get to share it all with you. Megan, can you tell us how you ended up in this career? How'd you end up in education?
That's a great question. And I kind of like probably the other people that spoke today, you know, I did a lot of different things in my career before coming here. One of the things I was doing was I was doing research, and I was going in graduate school doing research, which is what I thought I wanted to do for my career. But while I was doing research, I was teaching for the university. And that was when I realized I really loved education. And, you know, research was really interesting and I enjoyed doing it. But if I didn't get to work with people every day, I was really sad. And that was what I found not only was something that I loved to do, but it was where my skills really were best used and really where I fit and where I could shine the most. So that made me start to pursue education stuff. I moved to South Carolina, learned about the aquarium. I volunteered here at the aquarium in the Sea Turtle Hospital with Whitney, who you met earlier. And I really was lucky enough to be able to apply for a job in education where I get to work with volunteers, I get to work with teens, I get to do all the different things I mentioned before. And I kind of found my place in education and working with the public and helping them share my passion for marine life.
That's awesome. I didn't even know you and Whitney started in the same spot either. I'm learning more about these people that I work with every day. I love it. Megan, can you tell me what's the hardest part of your job or tough or challenge?
That's hard. And I think the hardest part is also, I mean, and the hardest part of my job is also one of the things that I like the most about it. And that is you never really know what to expect working with people, people from all over are coming here to visit us at the aquarium. And so we never really know who we're going to meet or what we're going to be talking about, or what kind of programming we're going to be doing. And, things can come up and make things more challenging. And so that is a hard part. However, it's also one of my favorite parts because there's, you're never bored, and it's not like, you're sitting and doing the same thing over and over and over again. You're meeting different types of people, and it's, you never know what to expect, but it's going to be exciting.
That's a great, tough part, but great part. All right. What's your favorite part of your job? It can be anything.
My favorite part of my job is working with the public and getting to teach them about things that I'm really passionate about. Like I love to talk about dolphins or sea turtles or just how we can help the ocean. And when I can talk to someone about that and hear them get excited about it, and I'm like spreading and sharing my excitement, that is really, really fun, and it's really, really rewarding. And so, I'm getting to do what I love. I'm getting to protect what I love, and I get to have fun doing it. I mean, it's just a fun job to do. So I'm very, very lucky. Even the hardest part is the most fun part of working in education.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Megan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys all for joining us. Looks like we got all of our questions answered in the chat, but I'm sure there are plenty more questions, especially about how to kind of get into these careers. And we tried to talk a little bit about it, but you might have heard a lot of repetitive themes of starting with maybe volunteering. So that's a great way to get your foot in the door in this kind of career and in this industry, is to maybe start volunteering. And if you want to work with animals, it doesn't have to be volunteering with sea turtles. You could even start at your local dog shelter or something like that. So any experience you can get. And then you also saw so many of the people that work here, they started in maybe a different career path and they kind of wiggled their way and they figured out what they love. So really, I think it's all about chasing that passion, figuring out what ends up being kind of perfect for you. So we definitely appreciate you guys joining us, and would love to have you join us the next time. We're going to have different programs happening pretty much every month. So you'll be able to check that out on our website if you go to scaquarium.org. We got lots of virtual programs, but like Megan mentioned, we do a lot of things here. So hopefully we'll see you at the next event. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day.